Welcome back to No Mo Rural Data Centers. We have another update for you. This is regarding the vote tomorrow in Franklin County, April the 7th. There was an issue brought up in the past, and it's been brought up because people are wondering if it is at all related to the proposed data center. And the issue is regarding funding for infrastructure changes in District 3. Whether there is any relation to the data center or not, we do not know. We're not commenting on that. We're not suggesting anybody vote anyway in particular. This is for informational purposes only. We just spoke with Tony Baretich, who is the local manager for the Water District 3 in Franklin County, and he is going to share what he knows about it. Tony, can you give us a little bit of your background history, how long you've been in that position, and then give us the clarification on this water issue?
Sure can. So I've been with Water District 3 as the manager since May of 2023, so coming up right on 3 years. Prior to that, I was a public works director in the area where I live. I was in the city of Bell. And so I've been with Water District 3 since May of 2023, so coming up on 3 years. Prior to that, I was public works director. And prior to that, I got my full-time start in water and sewer service in 2018. Now, prior to that, I was in the water well and pump repair industry. So I did that as a second job. And then mainly I was in emergency services. I was a paramedic here in the state of Missouri. And then so that allowed me to transition in to start working on larger commercial district size wells, municipal size wells. And then basically when it was time for me to get out of emergency services just due to circumstances, I opted to come into the water and sewer business full time. I've been a public servant for the last 22 years. It's just my calling, the job I do is to serve the public. So that's kind of where we got to we are today. And then so to kind of move forward with what the district is asking for here. Couple things just to be up front. First and foremost, this has nothing to do with either one of the proposed data centers in Franklin County. Yes, we are aware, just like the public is. Yes, there has been some conversation with the district. District is committed to nothing, and we are really just awaiting whatever Franklin County decides. The second thing on that is Franklin County sets the rules. The water district does not when it comes to who hooks up, who doesn't hook up, distances, all that kind of stuff. So we are not the decision makers in that process. The next big thing I'd like to clarify is Public Water District number 3 does not receive any state or county tax revenue. So all expenditures for the water district come through water and sewer rates. The district runs a balanced budget every year. We submit to a third-party audit every year, and then that audit is also submitted to the state of Missouri, and we've always had good audit results. Now, moving into what this bond issue is. So starting back in 2018, 2019, the district starts studying its infrastructure, water and sewer. And then over the last 6-7 years, there's been some changes coming from the Missouri Department of Natural Resources and the EPA about the effluent limits, the water that leaves our wastewater treatment facility, and the quality it has to be. So what that means is the district has a lot of infrastructure that's 40, 50 years old, 30 years old, depending on where you're at. That infrastructure was never designed on the wastewater side to meet the new standards that are being imposed by the EPA through Missouri DNR. And so we are stuck with the choice of, do we completely rebuild plants at a an exorbitant amount, or do we do what in the industry we call a regionalize? So basically, we shut these small plants down and then pump the water to a bigger facility that has the capability to treat the water to the level that is being required from the regulatory agencies. So that's a must have. So when we're looking at the bond issue, it's a yes or no vote. And everybody can pick however they want, but a yes vote will open up the opportunity for the district to receive what we call state revolving funds. What that means is the district can then borrow money from the state of Missouri at that 1.5% interest rate, what it's currently going as. So that's key because a no vote means we will have to borrow the money at conventional banking rates, which we do get some discounts, but we're still looking at 5.5% interest repayment on this money. So a no vote doesn't stop the project. All a yes vote or no vote does is help direct where we get the funding and how much interest is paid back. You don't want us to borrow money at a lower interest rate, but the project will still move forward because we have to be compliant with Missouri DNR regulations. That's the wastewater component side. There is some drinking water stuff added in there as far as what's on the bond issue because it has some language about water and or wastewater. We do plan to add some additional wells to the district, which once again has nothing to do with data center coming in, if they don't come in. Those wells were predicted back in 2018-19 to be needed right around this time to handle the current load that is on the district from its current customers. So that was a plan that was envisioned, like I said, back in 2019. And it's coming to fruition now because it's time. And so the board, they went to the extent of getting this bond issue out there because they really want to give the people an opportunity for the district to borrow this money at a lower interest rate, because the only way to pay that back is through water and sewer bills. So the users are going to foot the bill for the end product that we're looking at doing it. And there's just no other way around that. One thing I think is also important is that the board itself, the 5-member board that sits on there, they have no financial gain in any of this. They're not a paid board. They're a completely volunteer board. They donate their time to the water district to help guide it, and it's in the best decision making possible for the people of PWSD number 3. So a lot of this wastewater stuff that we're talking about is currently in motion. We have several projects currently going on that are already funded. And so what we're asking for, once again, is the ability to borrow money to complete these projects that we really have to have wrapped up around 2030 is the kind of final deadline that we have. So getting it on the ballot to be approved by the people, this is just the right timing in April of 2026 to make this process happen.
Now, I just want to clarify with you because I'm not that familiar with this issue. This is only affecting certain districts, is my understanding, and the vote of yes or no, it is no means you can't issue bonds for funding and you have to go through lenders, and that's why it's a higher interest rate?
Yes. So, and that's something I kind of skipped over. So everybody within the boundaries of Water District 3 gets to vote, whether you're a customer or not. So you'll have non-customers have the opportunity to have a no vote for a system that they don't utilize, and the pricing and the rate increases won't affect them. But you could be affecting your neighbor or family member or whoever by that no vote. So yes, once again, this gives us bonding authority to sell our bonds to the state of Missouri with a repayment at a lower interest rate. conventional lending through a bank, we're looking at around 5.5%.
All right. So I think a lot of the misconception that people have is that if they're voting no, they're saying, no, you're not going to do anything because we don't know if what you're going to do is going to support the data center or not support the data center. And it really doesn't have anything to do with that. They are voting strictly on how it's going to happen, how the financing is going to happen.
That is correct. These projects are moving forward with or without the issuance of bonds. That once again, this has all been in motion since 2018, 2019. The process of all this is slow. I know that seems like a long time, but it just takes a long time to get everything put together. And so whether data centers come in or not, this project's happening, and then that will be a whole separate issue if that ever comes about.
So just because I don't know much about this, if the data centers are approved and they're using water through you, that changes the needs of the community. And is what you're doing to upgrade going to be sufficient?
So we have not been given an actual number of what the data centers require. So we are not planning anything for the data centers this time. What we are doing is to serve our current customers. If something were to happen where the county approves the data centers, the district would approach it as in any other development need. So for example, if they needed, X number of gallons of water and it wasn't readily available, or they were taking up the capacity that we had planned for our current customers, it would be the district's stance that they would have to pay for any of the upgrades, any of the improvements, anything extra to sustain themselves inside the water district. And that goes for any subdivision being built. That goes for any, we have a circle, K being built. So that developer that built that section of land in there, they paid for all the upgrades. They put all the infrastructure in. The subdivisions on Hogan Road, they upsized the district's water main on Hogan Road. They put all their own infrastructure in. That there's no money coming out of district funds to do these developments, and that will be the same way with the data center. And the big key, I think, for the listeners to go back on, remember initially I said, we do not receive any tax funds from the county or the state. So we don't have anything to give them to get back type of thing. There's no give and take. If you want to hook up, these are the requirements to hook up, and you must pay for it. So if you are not hooked up to the district but live in the district, you still have an opportunity to vote on this on April 7th.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, one more thing, because this is, and I'm really trying to think of a lot of the questions that have come into the office that I fielded from people. So the other big question I think is important here, or big statement is Water District 3, our bank, because that's a hot topic in the area right now. Our bank is Bank of Franklin County. That's been a question that's been I've been hit up with quite a bit.
All right. Well, thank you, Tony, very much for clarifying, and we really appreciate your time.
Well, we thank you guys for the opportunity to be able to speak on the subject.